You ever see a garden just floating in the middle of a river? It might look kind of like an art project, but what you could be looking at is actually a super high-tech, living water treatment plant. Today, we're going to dive into this brilliant nature-inspired solution for water pollution that's basically turning plants into our planet's cleanup crew.
So let's just start with that big question. What if the best way to clean up our dirty water wasn't some huge, complex chemical plant, but something that looked more like a floating garden? It sounds a little like science fiction, I know, but it's a very real technology being used all over the world.
And believe me, the need for a solution is huge. Our waterways are constantly getting hit from all sides. You've got runoff from farms, stormwater from our cities, and waste from factories. It's a massive, global problem, and it calls for a really innovative way of thinking.
So, before we jump into the solution, let's take a second to really get a handle on the problem itself. We'll start by looking at the sheer scale of the wastewater challenge we're all facing.
Now, the solution we're about to unpack isn't just some fringe idea. The science here is solid. It's based on a major scientific review that's been cited by over 200 other researchers. So yeah, this is a credible, well-established concept. Let's see what it's all about.
All right, so how do we tackle this massive challenge? Well, let's meet the star of our show, nature's floating filters. The more formal name is Floating Treatment Wetlands.
A floating treatment wetland, or FTW for short, is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's basically a man-made island where specific plants grow on a mat that floats. The real magic, though, is happening under the surface, where their roots just dangle down into the water, creating this amazing, living, breathing filter.
And how you build one is beautifully simple. First, you start with a buoyant mat. A lot of times they're made from recycled plastics or other sustainable stuff. Then, you plant it up with special wetland plants. And finally, you just let nature do its thing. The roots grow down deep into the water and form that dense, powerful filter system.
So how does a simple floating mat of plants actually clean water? To really understand why this system is so effective, we need to get to, you guessed it, the root of the matter. Literally. Now this right here is the key. What's the big difference between one of these, FTWs, and a regular natural wetland? Well, in a normal wetland, the plant roots are buried in the mud and soil. But with an FTW, the roots are hanging freely, directly in the water. And that means they have direct, non-stop contact with all the pollutants, which makes the whole system incredibly efficient.
I mean, these roots are just multitasking superstars. Think of them as a living filter. For one, they act like a physical net, trapping all sorts of little particles. They also slow down the water flow, which lets even more gunk settle to the bottom. But maybe their most important job is providing this massive surface area, a home really, for billions of helpful microbes to live on. Oh, and on top of all that, the plants themselves are sucking up pollutants like nitrogen and phosphorus for food.
But here's the thing, the plants aren't doing all this work by themselves. Nope, they have a secret weapon, a powerful partnership that just supercharges the entire cleaning process.
You know, the source material says it best. Complete degradation is indispensable without effective partnership with microorganisms. What that really means is, while the plants are providing the structure, it's all the microscopic life living on and in the roots that's doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
So, who's on this cleanup crew? Well, it's made up of two main types of bacteria. You've got your rhizobacteria, which kind of form this slimy film all over the outside of the roots, and then you have endophytic bacteria, which actually live inside the plant's tissues. And this is where that partnership becomes just brilliant. The bacteria are like the first line of defense. They take these complex, nasty pollutants and they break them down into simpler, bite-sized compounds. Then, the plant can easily absorb those compounds as nutrients. It's a perfect, self-sustaining little cleanup machine.
Okay, so we know what they are, we know how they work, now let's get practical. What are the real-world benefits, what are the limitations, and what's the future of this technology actually look like?
And the performance? It's seriously impressive. The data shows these systems can pull out up to 90% of organic matter and nitrogen, up to 70% of phosphorus, and they are highly effective at dealing with toxic heavy metals. I mean, those are fantastic numbers for a low-cost natural system.
And the benefits go way beyond just cleaner water. FTWs are cheap to build and run, mostly because they're powered by the sun. You can stick them into existing lakes and ponds without any major construction. They create brand new habitats for birds, fish, and insects. And let's be real, they look a whole lot better than a concrete basin, right?
But of course, it's not a perfect silver bullet. There are definitely some limitations you have to think about. The islands need to be anchored down so they don't just float away. They need a certain water depth for the roots to hang freely. And to actually get rid of the pollutants the plants have absorbed, you might need to harvest the plants every so often.
So the big takeaway here is this. We have a low-cost, sustainable, and surprisingly powerful technology that uses nature's own playbook to solve a massive problem we created. It really leaves us with a pretty hopeful question. Could these simple, floating ecosystems be a key to unlocking a future with healthier waterways for all of us?